Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we are going to present our topic, Maqasid Al-Shariah, Acceptance and Rejections of Muslim Scholars. I am Nur Nazifa binti Haji Jeffrey, 22B0834.
And I am Wisaida Faraika, 22B0906.
What is Maqasid Al-Shariah? Maqasid Al-Shariah is often translated as the objectives of Islamic law. It is a doctrine of law that has its roots in the Quran and the Sunnah. Instead of merely focusing on the application of legal rulings strictly, Maqasid Al-Shariah seeks to achieve broader objectives that promote justice, equity, and the overall well-being of individuals and society as a whole. The first master of this particular field is Al-Imam Al-Shatibi, where he included a chapter on Maqasid Al-Shariah in his book Al-Muwafaqat fi Usul Al-Shariah. He also organized it systematically by extensively discussed the principles of Maqasid Al-Shariah in his book. Hujjatul Islam Al-Imam Al-Ghazali, which is a student of Imam Al-Juwayni, contributed to the field by introducing the phrase Ad-Daruriyat Al-Khamsah, which is the 5 necessities, as you can see over there, and the purpose of Sharia are 5, which are to protect religion, life, intellect, lineage, and the property. And this concept became a pivotal aspect of the doctrine, emphasizing the fundamental necessities that should be preserved and protected within Islamic law. Moving on to the historical context, so the development of Maqasid Al-Shariah over time illustrates how Islamic jurisprudence has changed and developed over time. The idea was first developed systematically during the classical era, when scholars such as Imam Al-Shatibi, Al-Ghazali, Ibn Ashur, and Ibn Taymiyyah contributed fundamental discoveries. The idea was originally based on the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the Quran. Maqasid Al-Shariah was incorporated into legal discourse throughout the Ottoman era, and the framework was modified to take into account the complicated socio-political conditions of the day. During the colonial and contemporary eras, Islamic philosophy faced difficulties, which led to resurgence of scholarly interest in Maqasid Al-Shariah. Particularly in the 20th century, scholars such as Muhammad Al-Tahir Ibn Ashur made significant contributions that revolutionized the interpretation of Maqasid Al-Shariah. The idea continues to be vital and relevant in the 21st century, influencing conversations such as morality, financial systems, governance frameworks, and how Islamic law is being modified to meet new issues. There are many scholars who accepted the idea of Maqasid Al-Shariah, but here I will only explain about 2 scholars, which are Imam Al-Shatibi and Imam Ibn Ashur. The first one is Imam Al-Shatibi. Imam Al-Shatibi established the idea of Maqasid Al-Shariah in the 14th century. His work Al-Muwafaqat fi Usul Al-Shariah is proof of his dedication to clarify the greater goals of Islamic law. The theories of Al-Shatibi are still relevant in Islamic jurisprudence, demonstrating his acceptability in the intellectual tradition. He also created a way to organize Maqasid into 5 categories, as mentioned before: the protection of life, religion, intellect, lineage, and property. Scholars often use his framework as a fundamental guide for studying Maqasid Al-Shariah. He then promoted a logical and comprehensive interpretation of the Quran, Sunnah, Ijma', and Qiyas, and acknowledged the connections between various legal systems. His approach is popular among scholars for making legal decisions consistent with Shariah's main goals. Imam Al-Shatibi's ideas, especially his organized framework and balanced approach, continue to be influential in understanding and applying Maqasid Al-Shariah in Islamic teachings. Next is Imam Ibn Ashur. He is known for his deep understanding and innovative attempts to incorporate the higher goals of Islamic law into jurisprudence. His greatest work, which is Maqasid Al-Shariah Al-Islamiyah, is regarded as a thorough analysis within the Maliki school and is well liked for its breadth and utility. His acceptance was greatly aided by his sophisticated interpretation of Maqasid Al-Shariah, with his focus on flexibility in the context of changing circumstances. Ibn Ashur showed a deep understanding of changing demands of Muslim countries by advocating for the rebirth of ijtihad and dealing with modern issues. His acceptance highlights his significance as a distinguished person in furthering the comprehension and implementation of Maqasid Al-Shariah in the wider framework of Islamic jurisprudence.
Next, moving on to the rejected interpretations. There are 2 Muslim scholars that rejects Maqasid Shariah. Before that, I would like to mention that these rejections is more likely towards the examples of the Maqasid. The first Muslim scholar is Yusuf al-Qadarawi. In this slide, it is highlighted that he rejects the traditional views of Ibn Hazm that horses cannot be included in zakah, because there is one case about Umar. He wanted to include horses in zakah as a donation, which Prophet explicitly instruct him not to do so. The reason on why Umar include horses in zakah is because at that time, horses were becoming much better commodity than the camels. In Umar understanding is that the purpose of zakah is paid by the wealth for the sake of the poor. And the only school that supports Umar's view is Hanafi school, because we all know that since the prophetic tradition, there is no horses is included in zakah, as Ibn Hazm said that he limits zakah into 8 specific categories only, which are the gold, silver, wheat, barley, dates, camels, cows, sheep, and also goats. And zakah is not applied to any commercial goods such as horses or any kind of wealth. So the meaning here is that Qadarawi did accept Umar's view on including horses in zakah. Next is about Ibn Hazm, which on the other hand, he rejects the first sets of narrative, which he doubts their memory skills, such as Bukhari and Ibn Hanbal, but he accepts the second narrative here because there is a case about conflict in Islamic narratives on a custody after divorce and remarriage exists. The first narrative is reported according to a few narratives, the Prophet warned a divorcee that getting married would result in losing her custody of her kids. However, the second narrative suggests that divorcees may be able to keep the custody of their kids even after they remarry. Like Salamah case, it indicates that they can keep the custody of her children even after marrying the Prophet Muhammad. As a result, most laws of schools came to a conclusion that if a mother remarries, the custody will definitely go to the father based on the first narrative. Because the first groups of narrations was narrated by Bukhari and Ibn Hanbal, they considered it to be more authentic, which is why they decided to exclude the second group. But here, what Ibn Hazm has concluded is totally different, and he didn't accept the first narratives, even though most law of schools accept it. Last but not least, just to put it briefly, Maqasid Al-Shariah is a comprehensive Islamic framework emphasizing justice and well-being beyond the legal requirements it have developed since the early Islam. Scholars like Ibn Ashur highlighted its key values, including the preserving poverty, property, religion, life, and also intellect, while some scholars express their reservations. Maqasid Al-Shariah remains relevant, especially in the Islamic finance, adapting to changing circumstances. It is a flexible guide that upholds Islamic justice and also equity, balancing tradition with evolving societal needs. Despite the differing views, there is no widely acknowledged school of thought rejecting the outright. Instead, scholars engage in discussion and interpreting and applying these principles.
That's all from us. Thank you for listening.